and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Okay, let's get into this. For today's deep dive, we've got this fascinating set of source material, and it honestly feels less like a story and more like we're just eavesdropping on these really high-pressure family moments.
Eavesdropping is the perfect word for it.
We're talking about the logistical nightmares of farming, the reality of remote living, and then this just stunning emotional fallout from grief and old family wounds.
I mean, that's it exactly. We're dropped into these very immediate, tangible conflicts like who's supposed to be packing the veg boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But the real mission here, I think, is to see how those little daily irritations are actually, well, they're symptoms of these deep, unresolved histories.
Oh, okay.
Histories about expectation, about pressure, and just the incredible weight of the past. We've got several storylines running at once. There's the stress with Tom, Henry, and Kirsty on the farm.
Right.
Then you contrast that with this sort of romantic but very tough life of Finley, the Scottish crofter.
Right.
And then there's this whole other drama happening with Lillian, Brian, and Natasha, who are all traveling.
Yeah. And it seems like the fuse is always lit by something totally mundane, doesn't it? Which I think brings us perfectly to that daily pressure cooker at Bridge Farm.
It does. I mean, we are thrown right into the middle of Tom's frustration.
Yeah.
He immediately calls Henry out for being late.
Yeah, he says they had an agreement. Henry was supposed to come straight home from school.
To help with the veg boxes, yeah.
Yeah.
And Tom's already had to start packing them himself because he's, and I'm quoting here, needed elsewhere.
And Henry just gives that classic teenage defense, I'm here, aren't I?
Oh, yeah.
And what's so clear, especially because Kirsty's watching all of this, is that this kind of bickering is just normal for them.
It's standard operating procedure. Kirsty even jokes she's there to make sure they don't kill each other. It's just, it feels so unsustainable, that atmosphere.
It does. And what's interesting is how quickly Henry's school stress gets layered on top of all this.
Well, that's a double bind, isn't it? The friction at work, or the farm in this case, and then the pressure from school. So he's doing better in biology, apparently.
But Spanish is a disaster.
A complete catastrophe. He says the teacher is terrible.
Yeah.
And kept him behind just to tell him he needs to pull my finger out.
Which is the last thing you want to hear when you're already struggling. And his reaction is just so severe, he threatens to quit Spanish completely.
And Tom tries, he tries to be constructive. He makes a point about how speaking another language could help with visitors for the rewilding project. But in doing that, he sort of exposes his own insecurity.
He does. He admits he's embarrassingly useless with languages.
And that little admission just opens the floodgates to his own, I guess, identity crisis. He starts complaining to Kirsty.
Right.
Articulating this really profound unhappiness. He says he feels like a boring, self-obsessed farmer who bickers with his nephew and moans about everything.
And this is where we get that really telling bit about his past. He talks about losing the real me.
Yes. The guy who used to care about bigger things. Specifically, he mentions taking a stand against Brian's GM crops.
Why is that reference so important, do you think? That specific one?
Because it represents principle. It represents, idealism.
Right.
A conviction that was about something bigger than himself. And now, his entire world has just shrunk down to logistics.
Who's late? Where do the veg boxes go?
Exactly. Which child needs picking up? And he finds it soul-crushing.
Yeah.
His reality right now just doesn't match the memory of the person he thought he was going to be.
That's incredibly relatable for a lot of people, I think, that tension.
For sure.
And Kirsty steps in, she starts helping pack. But what's her real role here? Is she just another pair of hands, or is she more of an emotional safety valve?
Oh, she's absolutely the buffer. 100%. She brings the humor, she brings the perspective. She says the obvious thing, you could try and stop moaning, but then she immediately follows it with real support.
And practical help.
And practical help. She's mediating not just between Tom and Henry, but almost between Tom and himself, his past self and his current self.
So the takeaway for you, the listener, is pretty clear. It's how quickly all those little daily annoyances at school, at work, can just pile up and lead to burnout.
Yeah.
And make you question who you even are.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to contrast Tom's struggle, his wanting to be that man of principle again, with someone who literally went back to the land to find himself.
Which takes us to Finley.
It takes us perfectly to Finley and this romanticized but very real life of a Scottish crofter.
We see it all through Helen's eyes, don't we? She gets to his croft, and right away she says it's a different way of farming compared to Bridge Farm.
She goes, Bridge Farm definitely work, but this is something else. And Finley, he doesn't exactly romanticize it, but he talks about his connection to the land with this real passion.
He calls it a real privilege.
A real privilege. He says the river, the glens, the crags, they're just home. And this wasn't some slow career change. He came back right after his divorce, left his architectural practice in Glasgow.
So it was an emotional necessity.
Totally. It was about needing to belong somewhere.
But that's the ideal. The sources are pretty quick to give us the reality check.
They are. Because that traditional lifestyle.
Introducing the Archer's Mug, where elegance meets everyday comfort. Crafted from premium white ceramic, designed with vibrant peekaboo colors inside, simple, modern, and stylish. Start your day the Archer's way, with warmth, familiarity, and the comfort of voices you've come to love. As the stories unfold on the Archers, let this mug become part of your daily ritual, a small reminder of life in Ambridge. Practical for every home, dishwasher and microwave safe. Available in 2 sizes, 11 ounces and 15 ounces, designed to fit your lifestyle. Enjoy your favorite drink in a mug that connects you to Britain's most beloved countryside story, The Archers. For more information and to order your very own The Archers mug, follow the link below and make it part of your daily routine.
Well, it's rarely enough to pay the bills anymore.
And that's the key tension.
It is. Finley admits he's a returned firefighter. It's a second job. He says it's to pay the bills. So that privilege he talks about is being subsidized by emergency labor. He has to be ready to drop everything at his croft at a moment's notice.
So even when you find your home, the work never stops. There's this constant maintenance. He's worried about the new sheep.
The Nori sheep, yeah. He says he needs to reinforce the fencing right away or they'll escape. So you have this sublime landscape, but the infrastructure is just demanding.
And the isolation must be a huge factor. Helen points out it must be lonely.
And he admits it is,
Yeah.
you know, even while he's joking about it. And it's not just about work. It's about social connection.
Well, he tries, doesn't he? He's optimistic about meeting someone, and he even tries to ask Helen to stay for steaks.
But she can't.
She can't, because Cousin Kate is cooking us vegan haggis.
It's such a perfect, specific detail. You've got the ideal of deep connection,
Yeah.
the reality of needing 2 jobs, and then a potential date is blocked by family and vegan haggis. It just perfectly highlights that gap between what you want and what's actually possible.
Okay, so from the logistics of remote life, we now have to move to something much more intimate. The unspoken turmoil between Tom and Kirsty.
Yeah, the grief over Wren.
Tom is just emotionally drained. He tells Kirsty he's having these incredibly vivid dreams.
And the description of the dream itself is just, it's gut-wrenching. He describes Wren at about 8 years old playing football.
In goal.
In goal. And his goalie gloves are way too big. They're hanging off his wrists, and it just makes him look so small.
But he saves the ball.
He miraculously saves the ball, yeah. And Tom and Kirsty are on the sidelines, and they're cheering, and they're hugging him.
It's just this perfect little snapshot of a life they never got.
Sure.
And he wakes up and has to face that question. What if Wren had made it?
It's so powerful, because it's not just about the past. It's about the road not taken. And Kirsty's response to this is just an act of brutal honesty.
She cuts right through the fantasy. She just says, you and me, no chance.
No chance. She refuses to let him stay in that idealized dream. She explains that trying to co-parent with him while he had the girls with Natasha, it would have just been too complicated.
She says she couldn't have put myself through that again.
Which is some masterclass in self-protection, really. She's confirming that she understands his desire for that alternate reality, but she's also explaining exactly why she couldn't live it. She chose clarity over what would have been constant, complicated heartache.
And after she says all this, she hugs him. She comforts him.
She does. And right on cue, that deep grief circles back around to cause a whole new problem.
Because Henry sees them.
Henry sees the hug, and he completely misinterprets it. He sees it through the lens of all the existing tension.
And he asks Tom, did I interrupt something? He thinks something is going on between them.
He does. He asks Kirsty what Tom is trying to get on with. He jumps to the absolute worst conclusion.
Which forces Kirsty to explain, I was just hugging him because he was upset. It just shows how vulnerable private grief is when it's seen by someone on the outside who doesn't have the context.
Absolutely. Unresolved sadness is so easily mistaken for a secret romance.
Yeah.
And it just reinforces Henry's feeling that he's always on the outside looking in.
Okay, let's shift now. Far away from the farm, we have the extended family and their own drama.
The holiday travelers, yes.
So Natasha and Phoebe are stuck in Blackpool. And the reason given is that Phoebe is having Braxton Hicks.
Right, false labor contractions. And that physical delay, which turns out to be nothing, it really seems to mirror the sort of emotional gridlock in this part of the family.
Because Lillian, who's already in Scotland, she doesn't believe it.
No, she thinks they're avoiding her. She tells Brian that Justin's messages make it sound like they're having too much fun and just putting off the final leg of the trip.
And Lillian is clearly not having fun. She finds Scotland so slow, and she just wants to get back to civilization. Her mood is already volatile.
And that sets the stage. She then pivots the conversation to Leonie, saying she needs support because James is never home.
Brian suggests maybe James is steering clear of her.
And when Lillian pushes back, Brian tries to defend James. But in defending his son, he accidentally incriminates himself.
How so?
Well, he argues that James has done damn well, especially considering he had very little parenting from Brian. He's saying, we have to make allowances for James. He's basically trying to take the blame for his own son's shortcomings.
And that's what triggers Lillian.
That's the trigger. Because Brian's excuse for his son immediately brings up their own childhood. She compares Brian's parenting to their mother's.
And not favorably.
Not at all.
Yeah.
She says their mom never made allowances for us.
And then comes that devastating line. She says, "Many a time I questioned if mom loved me at all."
And there it is. A lifetime of trauma, confessed during an argument about a delayed holiday. The pressure of this one moment just cracks open decades of pain.
You start to understand her entire personality in that one sentence. Why she's so stern.
Exactly. Her focus on duty, her impatience with Scotland being so slow, it's all rooted in that feeling of being unloved. Her pain dictates the harsh advice she gives Brian next.
She tells him, "I forgot about my feelings and did what's best for my family. You should try it sometime."
Which is the ultimate defense mechanism, isn't it? She learned early on that feelings were a liability, so she prioritized duty and toughness above everything else. And for you listening, this is just a perfect lesson in how generational trauma works. The neglect we suffer becomes the armor we wear.
Wow. I mean, we've gone from Henry's Spanish homework all the way to Lillian questioning if her own mother ever loved her. The emotional range in these sources is just incredible.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if you synthesize it all, the big theme seems to be about this struggle for personal fulfillment. Whether it's Tom looking for the real me in a pile of veg boxes, or Finley trying to find connection on the croft.
It's always weighed against family duty and economic necessity.
Always. The financial reality is this constant crushing weight. It forces Finley to be a firefighter, and it forces Tom to drown in farm management.
And the past is never really past, is it? It's always active. Wren's absence is shaping Tom and Kirsty's relationship right now.
And Brian and Lillian's childhood is dictating how they handle this conflict in the present. The present is just the stage where all these old wounds get to play out again.
That is the key takeaway. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. How often are the biggest, most life-altering decisions people make, Finley going home after his divorce, Kirsty deciding to avoid that complicated future with Tom? How often are those choices driven not by some grand career ambition, but just by this overwhelming, almost desperate need for emotional clarity, for a safe place to call home, even if getting there requires immense sacrifice?
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around. Getting.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the ball bar. That's.
This one.
Yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever